Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone from Nepal. A very warm welcome to all our participants joining us today for this international webinar session on writing a high quality discussion session, interpreting findings and building arguments. Hello, my name is Simran Gongba and I'm one of the team members at GREAT. It is my pleasure to be your host for today's session. On behalf of entire great family, thank you for taking the time to join us today. Doc, uh, Now, before we begin our today's session, let me briefly introduce GREAT. Global Research Institute and Training Center, also known as GREAT, is an independent research institute established in 2023 with a mission of advancing research, providing specialized training, and promoting high quality academic publication. GREAT works closely with universities, researchers, and institutions from around the world to promote academic excellence, innovation, and knowledge sharing. Now, moving on to our global presence. GREAT has established chapters in several countries, creating an international network of researchers, academics, and professionals. This global collaboration encourages research partnership, knowledge exchange, and professional growth across different disciplines. Now, let me briefly highlight some of the services provided by GREAT. GREAT organizes training programs on various research tools, including um, SPSS, STATA, R, research paper writing, project management and evaluation, and many more. GREAT also conducts seminars where experts share research findings and discuss emerging issues within their respective field. In addition, GREAT hosts a monthly webinar that brings together researchers and professionals from different countries to exchange ideas and strengthen academic collaboration. Beyond training and webinars, GREAT provides personalized publication support. GREAT offers one-to-one mentorship, guiding researchers from selecting a research topic all the way to manuscript preparation and publication. GREAT also assists with manuf- manuscript editing, proofreading, journal selection, and converting academic work into publishable articles. In addition, also organizes two regular webinar series, local and international webinar series. Our international webinar series, like today, is conducted in English on 20th of every month, featuring speakers and participants from all around the world. Um, our second regular webinar is conducted on local language. It is held on 25th of every month, making research knowledge more accessible to local communities through a native language. GREAT also has two international peer-reviewed journals, Journal of Sustainability and Environmental Management, or JOSEM, and Journal of Multidisciplinary Research Advancement, known as JOMRA. The first the first journal, the first one is Journal of Sustainability and Environmental Management, or JOSEM. It publishes high quality research paper, review articles, case studies, technical notes, and short communication in environmental science, sustainability, and related fields. Our second journal is the Journal of Multidisciplinary Research Advancement, known as JOMRA. Joomla provides a platform for researchers from diverse academic backgrounds, encouraging interdisciplinary collaboration and innovation across different fields of research. Now, I would also like to take a moment to appreciate the effort of our whole in-house team, which includes research team, finance team, media and communication team, research assistant, and interns. Together with the collective effort of our team, GRID continues to grow and expand its impact in the field of research, education, and academic collaboration. Um, Before introducing today's mentor, I would also like to take a moment to share that GRIT is organizing an international conference titled Global Research on Innovation and Transformation in Environment, GRIT 2026. GRIT 2026 is a free international online conference organized by the Global Research Institute and Training Center, Kathmandu, Nepal, and will be held on 17 September 2026. The conference brings together researchers, academicians, professionals, practitioners, policymakers, and students from all around the world to share their research, exchange ideas, and discuss innovative solutions for environmental sustainability. uh, it features three conference track. First one is climate resilience, environmental science, and natural resource management, which includes climate change, biodiversity, water resource, disaster management, and environmental assessment, circular economy, solid waste, and green engineering. And in the second track, it includes circular economy, solid waste, and green engineering, covering waste management, pollution control, engineering, sustainable materials, smart cities, and emerging environmental technologies. And third one is renewable energy, low carbon solution, and sustainable agriculture, including renewable energy, bioenergy, carbon reduction, sustainable agriculture, AI and data science for sustainability, environmental governance, and ESG. So, if you are interested in participating in our conference, please stay updated by following our social media platform. We regularly share announcements regarding conference date, listeners form, etc. We look forward to welcoming you to the GRID 2026 conference. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our mentors for today's session, Dr. Assis Khanal um, and Dr. Almos Akimi Falde. Um, our first mentor is Dr. Assis Khanal. Dr. Khanal is an environmental researcher and sustainability expert with over 15 years of experience in solid waste management, the circular economy, and sustainable development. He is the founder and CEO of Global Research Institute and Training Center, a doctoral researcher at Lincoln University College, Malaysia, and a visiting scholar at Tribhuvan University, Nepal. He earned his PhD in sustainable engineering from TERI School of Advanced Studies in India. Dr. Khanal has worked with leading international organizations including World Bank, UNDP, ILO, ISWA, and UK8 on projects related to waste management, plastic pollution, waste to energy, and sustainable livelihood. His research has resulted in more than 60 peer-reviewed publications. He also served as as an editor and reviewer for many international journals and actively mentors researchers from all around the world in scientific writing, research methods, and academic publication. Dr. Khanal contributes to promote evidence-based solutions for environmental sustainability and capacity building across the global south. And now our second mentor is Dr. Almos Akrimi Falde. He is a He is a chief lecturer and associate professor of agricultural education at Federal College of Education in Nigeria. He holds a PhD in wheat science from the Federal University of Agriculture and has over 20 years of experience in teaching, research, academic leadership, and curriculum development. His area of expertise includes agronomy, wheat science, sustainable agriculture, food security, climate smart farming, and agricultural education. Over the years, he has supervised many student research projects, held several academic leadership roles, and contributed greatly to improving agricultural education. Dr. Agmos has published many research articles, conference papers, and academic books. He has also received research grant and served as an editor and reviewer for several international journals. He is passionate about monitoring young researchers and is committed to promoting sustainable agriculture through research, innovation, and academic collaboration. Before we begin, there will be a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Participants are highly encouraged to ask questions related to the presentation by typing them in the chat box during the session. Our mentor speaker will address as many questions as possible during the Q&A segment. As we will also be providing certificates to all participants, we kindly request that the participants to stay with us till the end of the session, and the certificate link and process will be shared at the end of the session. Now, on behalf of GREET and all our participants, it is my great honor and pleasure to welcome today's speaker, Dr. Assis Khanal. Uh, Dr. Khanal, thank you for joining us today and for sharing your valuable knowledge and experience with us. The floor is yours now.
Thank you, Simran. So I will start with the presentation. A warm good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for different participants hearing us and viewing us from different parts of the globe. So today we will be sharing together with my co-mentor, Dr. Amos, regarding writing the discussion section of the research paper. This is, I think, most of the confusing part when we write a research paper. Most of us are confused. So how do we start writing discussions? So what are the major steps? What are the challenges that we face while writing the discussion sections of the research paper? So before starting the sessions, I would like to take a quick review. I will say the pool regarding how we are having this, where are you from, and what is your expectations, basically regarding today's session. So messages might have been popped up in your window. So you can write the country that you are currently from, and then after have you published a research paper in a peer-reviewed journal. So I request all the participants to kindly fill up the polls that is coming up in the screen. I will show the result. Okay, so far 41 participant have filled up the form 42. So I will end the poll over here and we can view the result. So I'm sharing the result in front of the screen. We can see that the participants are from multiple countries of the globe, means from different countries they are coming from. And if you see the result, basically regarding your locations, Nigeria, Nepal, and different countries people are coming from. And having published a research paper in peer-reviewed journals, 35% say that yes, they have published, and 65% say that no, they have not published any paper in any peer-reviewed journals. So thank you for sharing these details. Now going back to the presentations, because this is really important so that we can share the information with you. I hope the presentation is visible, right? Simran, can you confirm? Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So, introduction, Simran has already given the introduction. So I will jump into the topic. So I will take from very basic steps because most of majority of us have not published any paper in the any journals. So it is really important to understand how to write different sections of the research paper and why the discussion section is most important. So regarding this, so today I will be taking you through what is the purpose of writing a discussion section in the manuscript. What is the basic structure of writing? What are the challenges that we face while writing the discussion sections? How we can write a proper discussion section, and what are the myths and the realities as well. And then after Dr. Amos will take you through the reviewer interface, how the journals identifies, how the reviews, what comments, sort of comments are given. So before starting regarding the discussion, I will start with a short story. So this is story of Dr. Analogy. Suppose you have a fever or you have any sort of you are not feeling well and you want to visit a medical clinic or you want to have some sort of appointments with a doctor. So first of all, what we do, we ask our friends, we ask our relatives, our colleagues, or anyone to identify who is the best doctor in the town, right? So that is what we do a secondary review, or we identify from different sources that could be your primary source of information for gathering those primary informations regarding the doctors, regarding a good hospital where we can visit for a medical checkup. So that is something, your background of the story, which we tell that you are trying to identify some clues regarding your purpose. Then after you visit to a particular place, so obviously doctors and medical facilities are located at a confined location. So we visit that particular place. That is basically your study site. When you visit to the clinic, the first person whom you meet is the receptionist, where you tell about your appointment details or you ask whether the doctor is available or not. So in this case, you start gathering few informations and try to share your issues with the receptionist or with the medical persons who is sitting over there. So they note down their details and they assign a particular doctor, right? So when you visit a doctor, obviously suppose you are diabetic patient. So they will take out your blood. For that, they will use the injections. They will use rubber bands. They will use a syringe, and they will take out your blood and put in a small bottle. So these are your research instruments. Those are the tools that the doctors or medical practitioners they are using to check your blood samples. Then after your blood samples go to the lab, it being checked, and the finding come out that your blood sugar level is almost 200, for example. So that is the finding. So your hypothesis before going and visiting a doctor was that you do not have a sugar or diabetes, but when you did a checkup, you found that the blood sugar level is 200. That is a bit high. So the doctor gives you the report. You have a report in your hand. So what will you do with that numbers? That is just the findings, right? And we ask, so what is the meaning of 200? Then the doctor will obviously give the explanation that your blood sugar level is high. You are a diabetic patient now. You are allowed to eat this food. You are not allowed to use the food with a huge glucose content. You should reduce your belly fats or something like that. So these are actually the interpretations of the findings. Remember, the first thing is the finding, which was basically a number, which was 200. Blood sugar, 200. That is your finding. And discussion is basically interpretation of that finding. So obviously, when doctor shares the outcome of that finding, he or she is not going to tell you that where did you come from, why you visit over here, who took your blood samples, how did they did the lab checkup, and all those things. They are not going to share all those details. So similar mistakes we should not do when we are writing a discussion sections. So discussion section is far ahead of the finding. When there is a full stop, when finding concludes, the discussion starts from the very particular point. For example, in the same case, the blood sugar is 200. That is your finding, right? So discussion is not that you write the blood sugar is 200, then it means no. You are not going to repeat the statistical details. You are not going to repeat your test results or something like that. The discussion should start. The blood sugar is very high because of what and what the other samples studied in different countries among different patients have found. So like this, you start comparing the result with different other studies done. So a discussion is not the repetition of the finding. That is basically the interpretation of the finding. To make more simpler, suppose you are riding a motorbike or in a car. You are going in a way the Google Maps shows turn left, turn right, go straight 2 kilometers and take the left. So that is what Google is analyzing and giving you a final output. So that is basically the finding that Google identifies regarding assuring its parameters. But the person who is sitting beside you tells you that, or you can also identify means since Google is telling to take a different route, it means there is less traffic and that route is very faster comparative to other routes, right? So just giving the directions, the numbers, those are your findings. And the interpretation of that numbers, because the route is short, because it is the fastest route, it avoids the traffic, that is your discussions. So where the finding ends, the discussion starts. Regarding the importance of high quality discussions. So first thing is we need to clearly mention, means the finding should clearly mention your all the data, your details and information. Whether it is coming from a quantitative data, you have used certain softwares, you have used either SPSS, R, Python, Stata, any sort of softwares that you have used, then you have generated so many tables, you have written the result, what is coming out. 20% participant share that they are satisfied with the services provided by any company. So those all details you provide in the findings. So that finding should be very clear, because if the finding is not clear, obviously your discussion is going to be hampered. To have a clear discussion, the first thing is to have a clear finding. Then after, you need to connect the ideas. You have to link your finding with the existing literatures, because finding is a particular sections where the thing that is coming out of the field is being presented. It is not your voice, right? It is the voice of the participant. It is the voice, what you see, what you feel, what was the response on the basis of qualitative or quantitative methods that you have chosen. So, in finding, there is nothing about you. When it comes to the discussions, now you start putting the interpretation of that finding. Then you start comparing your findings with the existing literatures, the studies that have been conducted in the past. It might be similar to your study, or it might be totally different. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, you start comparing your result with multiple studies done. Now, only comparison is not, means what we do is when we write discussion, we just tell that our result gave a certain percentage of the household using a mobile phone. Then a similar study conducted in India found that 40% people have been using in the remote areas. So that is just expanding your findings rather than writing a critical discussions. Because in discussion, all the ideas has to be connected together and it has to properly link with different theories. It has to be linked with different policies. It has to link with different literatures that have been earlier conducted in a study. So when when we look the paper, in most of the paper, I find that in the finding section, you start comparing and interpreting the theoretical frameworks. You start writing, comparing with different theories. No, that is a big mistake. When we need to compare the theories, we need to compare the policies, we need to connect our studies with different parameters. All those things comes in the discussion section. So we have to go deeper. It is not only about elaboration of literatures. Basically, it is about connecting different literatures from multiple angles. Then it enhances the impact and better it support your claim, because one is the finding that is coming from the field, the result, then you are interpreting it, now you are connecting the literatures and you are means reaching a particular a point where you can strongly claim that my finding is supportive or my finding is totally different from what the other literature suggests. So challenges. So these are the few challenges which most of us might have faced or we are facing while writing the discussion section. So first thing is, if you want to overcome this challenge, the first is you need to have a proper topic, because there is always a debate when we talk about a research or writing a manuscript or writing a research paper, document, anything. So first thing is whether topic has to be locked at the beginning, or this is something that can be changed later on. If you ask me, I would say that it depends upon your area of study. Because when we're talking about any lab parameters, we are from engineering and medical backgrounds where we have a preset of tests which has to be done in the lab. So obviously we have those variables fixed. Means we are not going to change the variables at the end unless or until the result is quite remarkable or totally changes in some aspect. So in that case, that could be a linear path. But in case of doing a mixed method research, or you are doing an ethnographic study or some sort of any qualitative study, be ready that your title, the topic could be revised. And I would say that it has to be revised because you have a certain hypothesis before going to the field, which is basically based on the literatures. But your contextual parameters, your contextual angle, your study site, those respondent can be totally different, right? From a different study conducted in different parts of the world. So in that case, what happened when the finding is coming totally different, there is nothing to worry about. The research is something that you are finding something new. It is not that you just start changing those data so that it aligns with a proper framework or any information that's already been set in the literatures. So we're not going to doing that. So a topic is important because on the basis of topic, certain issues, we frame the objective, right? On the basis of objective, what we do, we frame research methodology. So this is one of, I would say, a standard of writing a research paper, which I have seen in most of the paper. When we write methodology sections, what we do, we scatter out the informations. Means you are sometimes talking about collecting data with a survey questionnaire. Then we jump to focus group discussions. And for other tools, again, you talk about having a semi-structured interview or survey and administrative questionnaire, something like that. So it has to be in a particular place. All the information that has been scattered should be kept in a particular point, a particular space. And the methodology also be linked with your objective, because there is objective one, objective two, and objective three. In the same scenario, the methodology should also come. What is the methodology for objective one? What is the methodology for objective two? And what is the methodology for objective three? It has to be in the proper sequence, because the sequence is coming from your research idea, which is guided by your research problem, and that is monitored by your research objective. And then you expand it to your research methodology, and you write your findings on the basis of that particular methodology and basis of collecting those data. So if you have three objectives, means the methodology will be also different for different objectives. Then after the finding, what is the objective one findings to be stated first. Then objective two findings to be stated in the second step. Then third step. Similarly for the discussion, because of writing a research paper is not that we compile all the informations, all the data, and put it together in a single basket. It's not like that. We have to arrange. We have to be very disciplined with writing the content and arranging and aligning those content with our objective. So discussion section is the same thing. It comes from your finding and it is linked to your methodology and then finally to the objective. So the same step that your objective follows, the same step the discussion has to follow. The third, another case, when you have a very limited participant, because when we are doing any sort of quantitative study, you have certain sort of hypothesis to test. You need to have a proper sampling frame. You need to have a required sample. Suppose you have independent populations where the number of population is unknown, or you have particular population, the both scenario. Obviously, the sample size, if we take a 5% margin of error and 95% confidence level, the sample size would be around 380, 385. So in most of the cases, we take in a safe hand the 400 as a standard sample size. Now, the case is when we conduct a study, there can be two cases. The first, the researchers say that we could not reach the desired respondent. So here is the data, and the data has only, say, 200 respondent. That is the one case. And second is you tell that it was very time consuming, so I could not gather the data. So I have only 200 samples. No, that is not the case how our research goes. Because when we develop a proposal, when we write till the methodology section before going to the field, those all parameters are set on the basis of your assumption and the hypothesis that you need to test. For that, you have a clear sample size. It has to be distributed proportionally in every aspect. So because unless and until you do a data collection properly, the analysis will be mistake. When analysis is mistake, obviously the findings are not what it should be. Rather, it is what you want. So in the research, there is no space for what you want. The findings should be what it should be rather than what you want. So data collection is more important. So these could be several challenges. If you think that that is the case in your research, then it has to be justified before data collections. Then lack of a structure as I showed, and then after revisiting the literatures and connecting those dots. Now writing a strong discussion section and how we can structure it. So a 5 step and the exact paragraph or exact write-up that we need to have in discussions. It is given in the table below. So first is you restate key finding. It is not that you copy and paste the finding. As I told earlier, if 20% patient has tuberculosis in a village, then the finding is 20% people have tuberculosis, right? So discussion is not that you start writing from the same point. You cannot write the 20% respondent had tuberculosis. Full stop. It means the number of respondents that have tuberculosis is comparatively lesser than a study conducted in, right? Instead of writing in that way, what will you write that? Suppose the finding is 20% part respondent has tuberculosis, and that is a major number. So, for example, for any city, then the discussion should be majority of participants have tuberculosis, and you start connecting literatures or you start interpreting those results. So first is take your key findings, and you will ask, there are so many findings in the when we write, when we analyze the data. So which findings should we take? As I told, the key point is your objective. Think about your objective, objective one. So what is the objective one finding? That is your measure point. You cannot write that in my study, 30% were male, 40%, 60% were female. And then after the male, they used to use this, the language barrier, the other things, which do not have a direct impact on your finding. There is no necessary to state those information in your discussions. So what is the finding for objective one? Identify it. It can have one or two findings basically, not more than that. Objective two, one or two finding, right? So that particular finding you have to take it. Suppose, I will give example again. You are finding a relationship between two variables and how it can impact on the third variable. So obviously you have a finding, right? Means variable A has direct relationship with variable B, and it is causing a major change to the variable C. That is your finding, which is coming out. So that has to be taken for discussion sections. We are not going to take those chi-square values or those t-test, ANOVA, whatever test you have done. That is already in your finding. So no discussion is not where we repeat your data. That is basically we interpret your data. Then after we compare with the literatures, we discuss the implication. This is what we most of us miss. Means we have to find out what is the theoretical implications. What is alignment with different theories? Is practical implications. The policy implication, how it's linked to the different policies, or you can use it as a different STG angle as well. And it's future research. And at the end, the limitations. Always remember, the last paragraph of the discussion section is where you mention the limitation of the study and show the way forward for other. So this is basically a step how it goes. Example is given below. Our finding indicate majority of respondents have tuberculosis. Similar studies have reported almost 40% respondent. This is not your data, right? 40% is not your data. That is coming from the literature. So in literature data, you can put. Similar studies have reported 40% respondent have tuberculosis in the people living in the remote areas. However, our result differ because why did your result differ? That we have to tell now. That is the interpretation actually, what is coming out. Maybe it has been communicable or not communicable diseases or regarding any parameters that you have find out during your findings. So those all comes like that. So this is the structure, basic structure, how we write the discussion section. Our finding indicate dash, fill up your information. Similar studies have reported dash, fill your information. However, now contradiction comes over here. Our result differs because give the region, the interpretations. This suggests, now this is your implications, and then you start linking to the different theories, your practical implications, policy implications, and you tell that future research should focus on particular these things. This gives a holistic total pictures of how we write a discussion section. It is not only linking the literatures. So this is what happened when most of the papers, being an editor of different journal related to Springer, I will say Elsevier or something like that. The most important thing as a reviewer, as an editor, we look at the discussion section because that has to be very strong. It is not like you are only elaborating with the literatures going on. Now, common mistake. What mistake do we make? So again, repeating the result. That is a major mistake. We are not going to repeat the mistake results. Then after ignoring the previous literature, you cannot ignore. You have to compare and contrast your finding with the existing study. You can see the example I've given. No explanation for differences. I don't know whether you have gone through this case or not. In most of the cases, when we have particular hypothesis, we test, do different inferential statistics, take out different statistical value, and we came to a finding that there is no any connection. Means I can't find any literature that support my finding. So what to do in that case? I would say that is the best result. That is the best research paper that we have written. Because if the finding is obvious, it means that is a general research which has already been taken. Because a researcher, I read a paper where a researcher told that how to identify a good literature for the review. The first thing is you read the abstract. After reading the abstract, you try to predict the finding or try to predict the conclusion, say, because conclusion is the shortest section after abstract. So you read the 250, 300 words abstract, and then you predict or assume that this could be the conclusion of this paper. Do not read rest of the paper. Directly go to the conclusion section. Read the conclusion. If you find that your prediction matches, do not bother to read that paper. Because you are one of the researcher, we can easily identify what could be the conclusion of this research paper. There is nothing new. There are multiple papers in that particular segment. But if the conclusion surprise you, then that is worth reading. So how that conclusion comes differently, because it comes from the discussion and finding that is being linked earlier. So in that case, if your finding is coming totally different, you don't need to be worried about. You may not get a proper empirical data to link up. but you can get the policy document, or you can get those theoretical concerns, or you can write the implications basically. And so a future research has to focus on this particular part, because this is a noble outcome that is coming up my research. So you cannot write a weak or vague implications. You cannot write my finding is very important, my finding is most significant. That is a very general implication that you are taking about. You have to be very specific for whom your findings are important. Is that the policymakers? Are those the academicians? Who are they? So be very clear and concise while writing the implications, its uses, and other parameters. And then overstating or ignoring the limitations. Do not afraid to write the limitation, because it is not that what we plan has to come in the research, because what you plan and the outcome is coming same, then what is the newness or novel in your research? It has to be something new, right? And for that there might be limitations that we have gone through. So you need to clearly write those limitations, because on that limitations the future direction can be shown. And if somebody is doing a research, they can take your reference for conducting the advanced research from your outcomes. Okay, so before going to this myth slide, what I will do, mm, uh, again, there is a poll coming up uh, in your window. So I request you to fill up this poll that is coming up in your screen. The myth. I hope you can view it, right? So which of the following statement about discussion section is true? You have four options. The discussion section should mainly repeat the result in the paragraph form. A discussion is strongest when all the findings exactly match the previous studies. The discussion should interpret findings, explain their meaning, and highlight the study contributions. And AI can write discussion section, so researchers only need to edit the language. So I request you to fill up.
Dr. Fanal, we
Can't
cannot
you?
see the poll.
You can't see the poll. Okay, let me do
Yes.
it again. Uh, is it visible now? I hope it is visible now.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So which of the following statement about discussion section is true? Okay. So we have 59, 60, I believe, in the poll. So this is the result in front of you. We had one participant who told that discussion section should mainly repeat the result in the paragraph form. Sorry, we have been discussing discussion a particular thing from the very first slide. that is not the repetition of the result, right? And the second option is discussion is strongest when all the findings exactly match the previous studies. It is not necessary that all the finding has to match previous studies. The third is discussions should interpret the findings, explain their meaning, and highlight their study contributions. This is exactly what we are looking for. That is interpretation of your finding, explaining the meaning making, and highlighting the study contribution. Thank you. So now I will go back to the slide. So coming to the myth. So myth one, the discussion should simply repeat the result. This is a big myth. No, discussions should explain the finding, interpret the finding. Second, only findings that match the previous studies are valuable. No, you can have unexpected finding as well. So that is also a myth. Every finding needs a supporting study. It's not. You can discuss the evidence available, but also explain why your finding may differ. It is not that all the finding has to match. The longer the discussion, the better. This is also a myth. Reality is quality matters more than length. Discussion is just your opinion. No. Every interpretation should be supported by your data and has to be elaborated on the basis of literatures. AI can write my discussion for me. No. They can improve your writing, but they cannot do critical judgment as we do. Now we are going to coming to the end of this presentation. Before that, these are the few questions which you have basically filled when you filled up the Google form. This was your queries regarding the reason for undertaking this session today. The first is, how is discussion section different from the result section? I think the very first slide we have been discussing the same thing. In result, there is our finding, there is data, statistical outcomes, themes, observations. Discussion is basically interpretation. So this is the major difference. Where discussion finding ends, the discussion starts. Second, how to connect your finding with previous literatures. So connecting is first finding, then you have a previous evidence. Remember, the literature that you keep in your discussion section is not something new that's suddenly pop up. Those literatures are basically already being kept in either in introduction or the literature review section. So when we write a discussion section, the first priority has to be given to the literature that is present in the introduction or that is present in the literature review section. Because on the basis of those review of literatures, you have framed the research questions, you have developed the methodology, identified gap, and done all other things, right? So discussion should be, your findings should be compared with the existing literature that is present in your introduction or the literature review section. That is the first priority. If you have a new study, obviously there can be a discussion literatures because you have a totally different finding. So always remember, if you are connecting the finding with the literatures, you should prioritize your earlier literature review documents. The example you can see, previous studies have reported that AI tool enhance the writing efficiency among students in developed countries. This study extends this finding to a developing context where limited digital infrastructure exists, then you put the citations and all over there. How do I write a discussion section when my findings are unexpected or different from previous literatures? As I told, we should not avoid it. You should enjoy that finding. You have a noble outcome. So you have to acknowledge it. You have to compare it. If there is no empirical study, doesn't matter. Focus on theoretical contribution, focus on policy outcomes. And then after, different other frameworks that have been developed and give your implications. So you do not need to worry about if your findings are unexpected or totally different. How can I make my discussion session strong enough for publication in Scopus or peer-reviewed journal? So the four steps: interpretation, connection with the literatures, your contribution is important, and then implication. So whatever the document or the article that I have reviewed as a reviewer or as an editorial board member in Scopus related journals, I have found that most of the researchers only write section 1 and 2. They interpret and they connect with the literature. But they forget to mention the contribution and their implications. And then after the limitation as well. So you have to follow this four step. Not only interpretation and connection to literature is only enough. You have to show the contribution, implication, and limitations as well. So can AI help to write my discussion section? Obviously, a big no. AI can improve your language clarity, there is no doubt. You can ask for different themes that can be used for writing those sections. You can identify gaps on the basis of literatures if you feed your literature review document. But it is not that you ask AI to interpret the finding, because and it is a big no when we are doing a qualitative research basically, because your insight, your presence at a particular study site, your feeling, your experience matters more than what AI can give. So, before concluding my session, I will like to tell a story regarding a farmer and a gold deposit. So, there was a farmer in a village. Basically, that village was, you can say, popular because people had found different gold mines in that particular village. So, they used to buy the land. So, farmer bought the land, but somebody told him after a few days that instead of this place, a location at B has a high chance that you will get the gold. What the first person did, he immediately sold his land to another person and moved to the next spot. Now, the person who bought it, he had no interest for gold digging or something like that. He was more interested in farming. So he built a well to have irrigation. So when he dug the well, he found gold ores or mines beneath the earth. So this is what happens. The first farmer, he spent years searching elsewhere, while the second discovered treasure beneath his own feet. So real gold often already exists in the results section. It is not that we are going to add more literatures. It is not that we are going to do more statistical tests or perform more complex tests to impress the reviewer. No. All those goals are in your findings, and all on the basis of that finding, you are going to write the discussion section. And the discussion section is where you discover that gold. So gold is basically in your finding, and discussion is how you discover that gold. So your discussion section, do not create a new data. Nothing new is coming out in the discussion section. Your discussion sections does not create a new data, but instead it creates a new knowledge. So with this, I would like to end my session with a saying again: if your discussion only repeats the result, congratulations, my dear friend, you have written the same chapter twice. So do not make this mistake. Have a wonderful research journey. Thank you. Thank you very much. Over to you, Simran.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Assis Khanal, for your insightful presentation and for sharing your valuable expertise with us. Before we continue, I would like to remind everyone that participation certificate will be provided to all participants who attended today's webinar. The certificate link and instruction will be shared only at the end of the session, so please stay with us until the end of the session. In the meantime, we kindly invite you to leave a review of our organization on the platforms we have shared. Your feedback means a lot to us and helps us improve our future program. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our second mentor, Dr. Almos Okumini Falde. Um, Thank you for joining us today and for being part of this webinar, Dr. Almos. Without further delay, I would invite Dr. Almos to begin the second session. The floor is yours now, Dr. Almos.
Thank you very much. Let me first of all thank Dr. Ashish Kana, the CEO of Global Research Institute and Training Center. To me, this is a very wonderful institution, a novel idea indeed, globally. I also want to thank the moderator, Simran Gongba, very hardworking, reminding me so that I don't miss this very great event. I'm glad I'm here, and I appreciate this opportunity given to me to speak at this epoch-making event. Well, let me also say this, that Dr. Smira, Dr. Ashe, has already laid the foundation of this a wonderful topic. He has done justice to this topic. And what I'm here for is just to build on what he has already said. Remember, it's the same topic. It's the same topic we are considering, not that topic two or whatever. It's the same thing. It's just a kind of follow up to what the first speaker has already discussed with us. And also, let me take you back quickly to what is said in the beginning. The story he gave concerning those people in the medical laboratory science. Maybe they give you a report, you complain of ailment, malaria, fever, whatever, and they test your blood and they give you results. Now you go and meet a doctor. The doctor will not be wasting his time talking about the result. He want to discuss what caused this, what has been happening. You compare notes and then you move forward and I tell you what to do, recommendation, make impact in your life. And realize that if you follow the advice of the doctor, you get healed. So having said that, let me quickly go to my own session of representation. Can you, it's just the topic. Can I have slide 2? The second slide, please. Yeah. Weak versus, weak versus strong discussion example. Let me quickly say this, that no matter how beautiful and convincing your research title and general outlay of your research may look like, many people in the time past have experienced frustration, discouragement because of rejection from high impact journal. When the review go through your manuscript and then they see repetition result, vague implication, no serious interpretation of results, they can just get annoyed because of the repulsive presentation, and then they reject it. But then you feel frustrated and Probably some people, what they do is they go to uh, other journals who probably will not look at their work critically. But if you want to really move forward in academics journey, you have to really write good research. Now, let's look at this. Weak versus strong discussion. Let me quickly just have a rundown. Dr. Kana has already said a lot, but quick discussion. You see, repetition of results. He has said all that. I won't waste time on that any longer. No mechanism presented. No mechanism, no reason why you got that result. What could cause that? Linking it with other literature. Void of citation. No citation, no literature. Then, a weak discussion. The author may say this result could be applied anywhere. How can you say that? That's you are generalizing. They hide unexpected results. Probably you, in the course of conducting your research, you find a certain result that you feel, this will not be, based on what I've been reading. It's part of the research. It should be included. It should be included. Maybe it's a core discovery. But you find out that in other researches, they have found nobody has gotten the kind of results. So if you throw it away, and that can add beauty, that can add, color to your work. Then we see vague implication. Dr. Khan has spoken a lot about that. Vague implication, hence with more research is needed. That's a weak discussion. More research needed on what? What is the research gap that I discovered? Then you see strong discussion, interpret results, fine. Not only that, a very strong discussion will emphasize explanation of the process, the causes, like you have said. Compare, contrast, cite 2 or 3 or 4 or 8 specific articles that may be against your work, that is contradictory to your work, the finding, or that compare favorably with your work. Then link findings to setting population. For instance, you are conducting research on children, then you are generalizing it on an adult or a particular race generally. You are conducting research on female and maybe in medicine, and then you are generalizing it to cover male sex. That may be wrong. Then explain limitation honestly. That's a good discussion. If you have some limiting thing you didn't do very well, or there's some error, let it be reflected. However, this one was not conducted, it was not taken care of. However, this was omitted. Then it will give those who are reading your work clear understanding of what went into your research. Then they'll be specific. Dr. Kana has spoken about that. Does your work have theoretical backing, practical implication, and of course policy implication where necessary? As you are running off a good discussion, you have there should be a clear take-home point as you are concluding. And then probably along the line, if you have identified any gap, research gap, then you can now say that, well, future research can be carried out on this. Can I have the next slide? Now, let me have, example 1, thank you. These are some examples that have been drawn. For instance, in health and medicine, the title could be Effect of New Drugs on High Blood Pressure. Look at the weak discussion here now. The results show that blood pressure was lower in the treatment group with 120/80 mmHg compared to 140/90 mmHg in the control. Drug reduced blood pressure, more research is needed. You can see it's not detailed. Where is the interpretation of the figure? You just, what you got in the table, you repeated it here. Let's look at why is it weak. Just report number, no reason, no mechanism, no literature citation, just generic ending, just general ending. Then if it's going to be if that example 1 on health or medicine is going to be a strong discussion, look at this. A strong discussion will reflect the following context. I read, the new drug reduced systolic BP by 20 mmHg, a clinically meaningful drop linked to 25% lower stroke risk. You can see that interpretation. This effect likely result from ACE inhibition, which is consistent with Smith 2022. That is literature linking. Then we see unexpectedly 8% of patients reported dizziness and weakness. That's limitation, which was resolved by week 4. A pattern not seen in Johnson 2023. You can see the contradictory. The result he got, he saw a result, a literature that supported it, but at the same time, there's another literature that did not support, divided, and may reflect our old, I continue reading, and may reflect our older study population. Elimination is the 12-week follow-up, so long-term safety is unknown. Clinically, this offers an alternative for patients intolerant to standard ACE inhibitors. Now look at this. Theoretically, linking discussion with the theory, what you already know, what's in textbook, what you already know, what is known in knowledge in medicine, is support dual pathway targeting. Future RCCT should test efficacy in diabetics patients after over 24 months. In conclusion, the drug is effective and well tolerated for short-term hypertension management. That's the good discussion. Study this structure properly. You will see proper interpretation of result, not just bring result on the table. Leave that one. What is the vigor? What is it? What's the mechanism? What's the cause? What will be the likely reason? Is there any previous research that supports your work? Is there anyone that contradicts your work? You say those things. Is there any limitation? Any limitation? Is there any gap that this research is showing, which further research can now look into? Let's have example 2, please. Example 2. Can you give me the next slide? Next slide. Thank you. This example 2, we're talking about education stroke social science. Let's say we have a research title, Effects of Online Learning on Student Performance. That's the title. A very good educational research topic. Now, a weak discussion coming up from this topic will be students who use online learning score 75%, while face-to-face score 70%. Look at it, the conclusion. Online learning is good. School should use it. That is not acceptable. If I were to assess or review this kind of paper manuscript, in fact, it could be rejected or serious amendment, serious review to follow if the paper will be accepted. Now, why is it weak? No explanation, no proper interpretation of the result that they copy from the table, no context. Now, if you have to construct a strong discussion based on this topic, look at it here, strong. Online learners score 5% higher. He has already, interpreted the result higher. What's the reason? Likely because recorded lecture allows self-paced revision, a mechanism supported by cognitive load theory. This agrees with Lee 2024 in Auburn University, but contrasts with Musa 2023 in rural area, where internet access was poor. Importantly, the gain was only seen in self-motivated students, suggesting online learning is not a one-size-fits-all solution. A limitation is that we measure only exam score, not retention. Practically, universities should pair online content with mentorship. Policy-wise, this support investment in digital infrastructure, but not as a replacement for in-person lab. Now look at recommendation. The kind of a gap have been identified in as a future work to assess long-term job performance. Overall, online learning improve outcomes when combined with student support system. So from this discussion, we can see different sections, different material different aspects that make good discussion reflected here. There's proper interpretation. There's a kind of, it's not just repeating result. There's interpretation. Very good. And then you can see linking with the theory. Mechanism have been explained. The reason why he felt what was observed was reflected. And then you can see that he was able to identify gap. What's the research gap? Which will now form the foundation for recommendation for future research work. Let us have the next slide, please. The next slide. Yeah, example 3. This could be from engineering environment. What could be the title? Effect of new materials on water pollution. All right, that's a good topic. Now, remember, these are just hypothetical something. The topic could be different form and all that. Now, weak discussion for this topic could be: the filter remove 90% of contaminants. The new material is effective. More studies should be done. I won't accept that from anybody. Filter remove 90% of contaminants. That's from the table. The new material is effective. How effective? What made it effective? Is there any theory that support that in your previous, in your knowledge, in your studies? Is there any literature from what I've said? It's very weak. No literature backup. Vague kind of a recommendation. More studies to be done. Done on what? Where's the gap? Have you told her the gap that your research has exposed in this study, in your study? Now you are saying more studies will be done. Some researchers will say more studies will be conducted on what? You have not done much. Now, if this topic of this researcher is to be rated as writing strong discussion, let's look at this now. Strong. The nanofiber filter remove 90% of lead, outperforming, you can see, activated carbon by 15%. This is likely. See explanation for the result you got. This is likely due to higher surface area and higher extent size as described by Zhang 2021, linking the result interpretation with existing literature. Surprisingly, performance dropped 20% in water with high turbidity, indicating fouling. A challenge also noted by Kuma 2023. You can see the one that supported, the cited result that supported his work, and the one that was contrary to his own work. This study was limited to lab scale and synthetic water. That's limitation. It's not hiding it. And it's not trying to say that it's the best. This is good. This is the best. So real world, I continue to reading, so real world waste matter performance is unknown. Practically, this could cut treatment costs by 30% for small communities. Theoretically, it advances low-cost absorbent design. Future research to pilot this in free industrial sites and assess material lifespan. In short, the material is promising but needs field validation. If you look at this discussion, is a very strong one because have all the components of what our discussion should have. So if you frame your discussion along this line, there's no reviewer that will say this one is not good or reject your paper. Empire Journal, Scopus, Relevant or Index Journal, these are what they're looking for. The editors of a scholarly journal, this is what they want in your discussion parts. So let's have the next slide, please. Can I have the next slide? Simran. Okay, thank you very much. General reviewer complains about discussion. Now let's look at this. You don't just say, maybe they don't like my work, and you get frustrated, you get discouraged. There are some things you have noticed in your work which make your paper, your manuscript to be rejected. Generally, some of the complaints from reviewer and some authors have been outlined here. So let's look at this. One, this is just a repeat of results. Dr. Kana, he mentioned that over and over. You don't just repeat results. Bring out key findings from the table, from your result, key findings, and discuss it, mechanism and not. So this is just a repeat of result. They can tell you, they can write that one on your manuscript, send it back to you. That means you copy table into sentences. There is no proper interpretation, which Dr. Kana has been emphasizing. There must be proper interpretation. Don't just bring results. We are seeing it again and again. Number two, no link to existing literature. You submit manuscript, they can tell you that there's no serious link. There has to be link. The link is not link. It's not only when a particular literature supports your work. Somebody might have done it. Let me share this with you. Some years back, precisely when I was doing my PhD, I work on my area of specialization is the wheat science, really. And we were trying to test some herbicides on wheat. But we realized that one of the herbicides was injurious to the crop, was killing the seed while we apply it. So we now discovered that, even a senior professor said, maybe we have to plant another crop and all that. Well, but that result, I made sure that I kept it. And when it came to the point I want to do publication, I called some of my friends, let's publish this work. Some of them, they opted out. I don't want my name in this kind of work, because look at the result. Because they felt it does not conform with the general findings that a particular herbicide has injurious effect on crop. But I published that paper and it was accepted. It was admired because I reflected the weakness of that herbicide, and I published that work. So what I'm saying now is this: existing literature may not necessarily support your work, may contradict it. Bring out limitation, and that add value to your work. Other people will learn from it. Then the mechanism is not explained. I've said that. A reviewer can tell you that mechanism is not explained. It's why did you get what you got? What's the implication? Tell us. Inference. You said what happened, but not why. The next one is the implications are vague or missing. This is important. It's not enough. You are writing the question and say this is very important. This is very important. Well, it's important. Well, how? Why? To who? Limitations are missing or weak. Pretending the work, the study is perfect, kill credibility. It killed credibility. Be sincere. I just told you one personal example. My friend felt they don't want to their name on that manuscript, but I presented it. I had a few minutes, and so make sure that you do a thorough discussion. Let's have the next slide, please. The next slide. Okay, a continuation of the reviewer complaint. Sometimes the reviewer, they may say that your discussion your unexpected results are ignored. I think we have talked about that. You hide data that didn't fit your story. We have said that. So overgeneralization or overclaiming. This proof X for all people forever. I think I've said something like that also. You don't overgeneralize. Okay, I carry out result in Nigeria, maybe the Middle Belt, maybe the North. We have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. If I carry my own out in south of Nigeria, you will not generalize it to really cover the northeast or southwest. This result is applicable for this area. Don't overgeneralize. Then no context. That this are too generic. Finding to apply to mass. Weak conclusion. Just say more research needed. More research needed. Is there any research gap that you have you have identified in your research. That's very important. So you have to look for research gap before you can recommend more research is needed. That's the lazy ending. Then contradictory literature not discussed. Contradictory literature not discussed. We have emphasized that already. Now, when you are conducting, you are reporting discussing your work. Do not ignore literature that did not favor your work. Do not cite it. Cite it. You only cite people who agree with you. That's not a good research. That's not a good discussion. Then the next one is new data method introduced in discussion. If a reviewer tells you that, when I say that we are doing result in wrong section, you don't bring new data or new method into the discussion. Some people they just stray away. They leave the road and then they swap. So make sure that you are focused. You are focused. And that's the, can I have the next slide, please? The next slide. The next slide, please. Okay. Tips. Thank you. Tips for strengthening interpretation. What are the tips to strengthen interpretation? One, explain the mechanism. If you observe, it appears we are repeating some of those things. It's for emphasis. Dr. Khan has spoken at length on all these things. I'm also repeating the same thing for emphasis, because those of us who are involved in a reviewing paper find that this thing like this make people make some manuscript to be rejected. Explain mechanism. Don't copy result. Don't just be repeating result. We saw the example that I showed you from medicine, from engineering, from social science, from education. Why did this happen? We have to be thinking along. Okay, what led to this result? Pick it up from there. How did it come? Weak yield increase. That's an example of a very bad discussion. Weak, no, I mean, Greek yield increase. What caused the yield to increase? Is there any supportive literature that when so and so was used, so chemical at total range, at total dose, or use apply fertilizer at total rates, and it made it to increase compared to the other treatment? Is there any explanation for that? Then, if you're going to have a strong discussion, look at strong discussion now. Yield increased by 34% because reduced weed competition at 6 weeks after planting improved light interception and nitrogen uptake by maize. That is it. You explain reason why you use 5 doses of a fertilizer, but a particular dose led to yield increase. What the reason? What the reason? Maybe because the fertilizer that you have used or the weed control chemical that you have used has led to destruction of yield that have now made sunlight to reach the plant compared to the other treatments. And that has now increased because photosynthesis have increased. There's better light capturing by particular treatments by plant that you administer particular treatment, and it's not better. It now made the yield to improve over the other treatment. You need to explain that. That's mechanism. The reviewer will appreciate that. The editor will appreciate that. Then choose theory, plant physiology. I'm an agree. That's my own example. Plant physiology, our textbook, the theory that you know, knowledge that you know, to back it up. Ecology, economics, and so on and so forth, to explain your point. Then link to existing literature. We are back there again. Link to existing literature. Very important. Put your finding in conversation with other studies. No reviewer will credit your work, will accept your work when it is not linked with the existing literature. Article 2 or 3. It may be against your work, contradictory to your work, or supporting your work. Very important. Then, for instance, now, disagree with Chikoye 2001. who reported 50 to 70% weed suppression by Mukuna. However, it contrasts, look at the linkage. It contrasts with Olormaye 2010, likely due to differences in rainfall. That's a good discussion. You're explaining yourself. You are proving to all that you are in control of the world. You understand what you are saying. Can I have the next slide, please? The next slide. Chief, yes, you are still continuing. Then provide context. That is, interpretation is stronger when grounded in your study setting. Yes, make sure that before you embark on any research, you know what you are doing right from the beginning. So it becomes easier for you to do proper interpretation. For instance, in southern Nigerians, bimodal rainfall and labor scar system, reducing whole weeding from 3 to 1 is critical for smallholder. Oh yes, oh yes, that's a very good discussion. That's in my own area of specialization on weed science now, right? So now let's look at the next one. Address unexpected, null or contradictory results. We have said that over and over. So ignoring contradictory uh, report or result makes you look like it's a bias. That's a bias. But when you explain them, it shows that you are really serious. You master what you are doing. You are confident about the research. You are confident about the research. Oh yes, for example, you are doing the right thing. The result, report it as it is. Bring out key discovery. It may be negative. Build on it. Look for literature that back it up or literature that contradicts it. That's a good discussion. For instance, again, surprisingly, so herbicide is talking about a single herbicide. So herbicide plot at grass resurgence at 10 weeks after planting. This may indicate selection pressure and early resistance as reported by HIPS 2024. What am I saying here? This may be a negative result. After you have done your analysis and over and you have done your comparison of mean and all that, they realize that where you use a single herbicide, the plot where you use a single herbicide is having grass. Grass is springing up at 10 weeks after your planting. What does this suggest? It suggests that there is a kind of a resistance to the herbicide that you have used. And then now look at the literature that back up this work, this result. Okay, you find HIP 2024. That's a good discussion. You may also see another one that contradicts. However, that contradicts your work. You can also cite it. That shows that you know what you are doing. You are in control. You are mastery of your work. Can I have the next slide? All right. I think that's the end. So, just like Dr. Kana has said, in summary, when you are doing your discussion, don't just bring figures from the table and come out with important key findings and support it with your literature review. Don't ignore negative result. It may be very, very important. Others can learn from it, identify gaps, and suggest future research through that. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Almost. Um, uh, if any of the participants have any question to ask to our mentors, they can write their questions in the chat box, and our mentor will address them. And we also have shared the review link in the chat box. You can click on those links and review us and in any of the platform. We also have shared the registration link for a great conference 2026 in the chat box. Um, so we have one question from our participant. His question is, does it mean that every objective raise must be discussed in the discussion section? Um, Dr. Almus, we have a question from one of the participants in the chat box, and the question is, does it mean that every object raised must be discussed in the discussion section?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, Dr. Almus.
In discussion, just like we have emphasized in this program, when you're having a discussion, the important thing is that you are factoring your objectives right at the onset of the research. That when they now come to discussion, the important thing is that your own your key findings are your targets at the discussion level. Emphasize your key findings and follow the process that we have outlined and explained to you. Just to take care of the objectives. Sometimes maybe the objective is not fully met in one area or the other. That can also suggest future research. That can suggest future research. But I wouldn't know whether Dr. Asis will have more to say on this.
We also have another question, and the participant is asking, how do we find research gap? How must our research topic be structured to attract grants?
Hello, am I to answer that question?
Um,
Hello?
how?
Is that
Yes, sir.
question for Dr. Asis or myself?
Uh, it's in
Okay,
general.
okay, let me just say a little about that. If I understand the question properly, the questioner is trying to find out how do we identify research gap. Is that the question? Is that the question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
How do we
All
find the
right.
research gap?
Yeah, good. You can, as you are going through your discussion, and then you find out that there is a challenge that your research did not address. You find out there's a limitation in the process of carrying out your research. That limitation, that area that your research did not cover, that came up when you are conducting your research, that is a kind of research gap. For instance, I'm working on, okay, just like a sample I've given to you. Let's say I'm testing 5 herbicides on cucumber, and I realize that 3 of the herbicide have injurious effect on cucumber. That can be a problem. Or maybe the 5 herbicides are having negative effect on cucumber growth. That's a gap. I cannot recommend that further, even though I tested 5 herbicides, they all have negative influence on the growth and yield of cucumber. I suggest further research could be carried out using a particular herbicide that is not among the list 5 that I've used. You can suggest another herbicide that they could use. Probably that could be compatible with that crop. In other words, the herbicide that I used were not compatible with the crops that I planted. And hence, I got those negative results. I cannot recommend that further research will be carried out using another type of herbicide on that crop. We can also apply that to other disciplines, maybe in engineering. Okay, you test this, you test that. This one did not work, and you find out that this one worked. This one. Further research may include something that your own research did not address. The problem, that limitation that you observe in your own research can form the basis of future research. Sometimes you look at literature, review, during literature review, but author A or B has said certain subjects, but they have failed to address it in that angle. That can be a research gap, which you may want to work on, or which you may suggest to somebody to work on. For instance, another example now, I'm working on the effect of gramosome. Gramosome is an herbicide in southwest Nigeria, and I limited my research to southwest Nigeria, and I've gotten my results. My results are there. Now I can now during the, but I realize that they may be having challenges also in the north. In my conclusion, I've already reported my own research result based on my experiment, my work in the south. I can now tell, during my conclusion, I can now recommend that further research could be carried out in the northern Nigeria. My own research was carried out in the southern Nigeria. I can recommend that further research could be carried out so that we can have the true situation of things in the whole country. So that can be a gap. Because my resource is limited to southern Nigeria. But I recommend it limited to southern Nigeria. Farmers in southern Nigeria to do this, to use this, to use that. But those in the north who have different climatic situation, who have different weather situation, the experiment carried out in the south may not work in the north. So I can recommend that they should try it also over there. If they get similar result, that means we can now generalize it that this thing can work for Nigeria. I hope you got what I'm saying. Hello? Thank you.
Um, so, as we are also at the end of our session, we cannot take any more questions. And thank you to all the participants for asking uh, such questions. And if you have any further more questions, you can directly reach out to the mentors and ask them. And as for the certificate, the link will be shared shortly. Um, please, please make sure to review us on the provided platform. If and send us the screenshot of the platform if you are unable to uh, down if you are unable to download the certificate. Now, regarding certificate, the certificate link has been shared in the chat box. To download your certificate, please enter the code GRIT1 all in capital letters. GRIT all in capital letters. You will have 5 minutes to download the certificate. If you are unable to download your certificate, you may email us using the same email address from which you received the webinar joining link. In order to receive your certificate, please include a screenshot of the review you left in any of the official platform. So for the certificate, you will have 5 minutes to download the certificate. The access code for the access code for the certificate is GRIT, all in capital letters. Uh, I hope you were able to download your certificates. Uh, and if you are not able to download the certificate, as I also mentioned before, you can reach out to us with the same email that you got the joining link from. You can send us the screenshot of the review into our email. So after after receiving the review, now we will provide you the certificates. So now we will be ending our today's session. Thank thank you, Dr. Amos, for being with us and sharing and giving us such a great session. And thank you, Dr. Asis Khanal, too, for sharing such great insight with us. Now, on now, thank you everyone for being with us today. We look forward to welcome you again to our future webinars and events. Um, Now we will be ending our session. Uh, if you are not able to download the certificate, you can email us the review. Email us the screenshot of the review that you have left in our official platforms. Uh, Thank you once again, everyone. I sincerely thank you for being with us today. I hope to see you in our future webinars too. Now we will be ending the session.